What's up people, Josh here and you're watching Chimp Skills, and today we're looking at making you a better negotiator. So before we get things started, I'd like to reference Roger Dawson and his book, The Secrets of Power Negotiating. So I've used the information from his book in the following two sessions. So when you think about negotiating, you might be thinking of legal battles that are going on to the early hours of the morning or hostage standoff. But when it comes down to it, we're negotiating all the time. Whether it's to get the kids to sleep at a certain time, or it's just as simple as who's going to do the dishes. And when you think of yourself as a consumer, that can be some of the biggest negotiations that we go through. Generally, we're up against skilled sales staff. Trust me, I'm in sales. These guys spend a lot of time in regards to doing courses, going through role plays. They're getting coached, critiqued. It's what they spend their 9 to 5 Monday to Friday doing. So we as consumers are generally left with the power of balance on the other side. So what I'm aiming to do in these two sessions is shift some of that power back to you guys, the consumers. So to kick things off, today we're going to look at the 3 stages of a negotiation and 6 elements that should be included in any good negotiation. Part 2, we'll look at some of the tactics that you can use whilst negotiating. So to kick things off, what are the 3 stages of a negotiation? Stage 1, establish criteria. So what do you want and what does the other party want? Once we've figured this out, we can start to determine the gap in regards to reaching a resolution. Stage 2, gather all the information. So now that we know what the other party wants, we want to figure out the motivation around why they want that particular outcome. We want to consider what are the outside influences. We want to ask as many questions as possible and avoid coming to our own conclusions, instead asking the person the questions in order to determine the facts, leaving personal bias out of it. Stage 3 is to reach for compromise. So it's at this stage that either party or both parties will have to make some concessions in order to reach a suitable compromise. Now what's important is that before you go into a negotiation, you have already looked through the concessions that you're willing to make before entering. This will avoid any unwanted surprises mid-negotiation. Now let's look at the 6 elements that make up a good negotiation. Element number 1, we don't all want the same things. So we can easily get caught in the reductionist sort of mindset where we're thinking that everyone wants the same thing. And this is often untrue. And even when we do want the same things, the motivations behind them are often quite different. So avoid getting caught in this mindset to allow yourself to keep your options open. Element number 2, less powerful. So a good negotiator is always going to be able to compensate for the lack of power. Generally, when we go into most negotiations, the balance of power is going to be on the other side. For example, if you were to ask your boss for a pay rise today, you may be fearful of the ramifications and also just generally upsetting them. A good negotiator is going to be able to compensate for that lack of power. They may be thinking of all the benefits they bring to the organization and what it may cost them if they were to leave. Element number 3, win-win. So in any scenario where we can get the best outcome for both parties, that's an ideal result. However, if you do happen to get the upper hand, please do not brag about it. Don't be like, "Got you, man, I can't believe you fell for that. That was so easy." Nobody likes that guy and they don't want to deal with him again. So instead, even if you do get the upper hand, congratulate the other party. Let them know they've done a job well done. Then when you go back to renegotiate them, they're not going to think you're a piece of shit and it's going to be a lot easier to deal with them. Element number 4. Negotiate the small things first. Get on a bit of a roll. Make it a bit easier for yourself. You also want to keep in mind you don't want to leave the big ticket items till right at the end. And whenever you're negotiating, you want to have more than one thing on the table at a time to help keep your options open and to allow for concessions. Element number 5. Ask for more than what you want. I know this is a simple one, but what it allows you to do is keep your options open, allow for concessions, and generally to make you seem like a reasonable person. And option number 6, always be prepared to walk away. If at any stage in a negotiation you feel like you have to have something, then you've already lost. So look guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found this information useful. Give the video a like, a share, and stay tuned for part 2. Until then, peace!